Week number 3 of the season is quickly approaching, and on Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, the West Virginia Mountaineers will take on the Tigers of Towson, and we're here to talk about it. This is the Towson preview of Three Guys Before the Game, episode 401. Three Guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems, your full-service Konica Minolta dealer. Go to Comax Business Systems at comaxwv.com, comaxwv.com, and by the Burdett Camping Center, the only warranty forever RV dealer in all of West Virginia. Visit them at burdettcamping.com. They've got a really good promotion for Saturday's game.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking dollars, like dollars, big dollars.
What does that mean?
Well, you want to know it now? You want me to spill the beans?
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't bury the lead.
All right, so here's the dealioski. Our boy Phil at Burdett Camping Center wants to celebrate our 400th episode. So he's making this a two-pronged deal. Two prongs.
What is it?
Two prongs. One
In case
prong
you're
here,
watching
one
on
prong
the
here.
video.
Yeah.
If you don't know what two prongs is, turn the video on. Tony just
there
showed
you
you.
go. So he's going to give $50 off per touchdown pass.
Per touchdown pass.
Per touchdown pass, or $400.
Oh, whoa.
Whichever is greater.
Whoa.
So
Or $400, whichever is greater.
So your floor is $400.
Minimum is $4. Now, if JT goes out there and the rest of them quarterbacks, if by chance more than one plays, and they throw like 14 touchdowns, you'd go 14 times 50, which is $700.
That's a good play. The floor being 400 is huge.
Yeah.
Because that's
that's the play. It's going to be 400.
400. 400 is
Okay.
your minimum. And what that means is you'll save $400 on parts, sales, and service at the Burdett Camping Center. Just tell them you want the Three Guys discount. So $400 minimum. So that's quite a deal. It could be more if you get more than 8 touchdown passes, but it's going to be
not total touchdowns.
No.
Touchdown passes.
Passes, TD passes.
So 2 touchdown passes a quarter.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
They put 54 on them the last time.
Whatever. The story there's 400.
400.
That's a nice
400th episode.
discount.
That's 7/8 or 56.
Yeah,
it's well done.
Burdett Camping Center happens to be the only warranty forever RV dealer in all of West Virginia. You buy it, and the warranty lasts forever as long as you own it. Visit them at burdettcamping.com. That's burdettcamping.com, located in Winfield, if you happen to be in the area. And Three Guys is also brought to us by Comax Business Systems, your full-service Konica Minolta dealer. Go to Comax Business Systems at comaxwv.com. We have left the era where you can just have the person that's got some technical savvy on your staff to say, hey, take a look at that one computer. Make sure that thing's working right. Right? We've passed that. If you've got a business, you need to be protected properly. Comax does that. And they also will come in and manage all of your IT services. They'll manage your voice and your phone services, 24/7 remote monitoring. No matter if you're at the game, like say you're at the game on Saturday, you don't have to be stressing. Like you think 4th down and 2 is a big stress play? No. What really is a stress play is if all the computers in your business have been attacked and all your data has been stolen. That's stressful. That's why Comax offers 24/7 remote monitoring. They've got your back. And once again, 10 times they've been named an elite dealer by ENX magazine. Only dealer in West Virginia ever win that award. So check them out. Comax, KOMAXWV.com.
Hey, Brad.
Yes, Hop.
There's a member of our team that has received a very distinct honor, which was announced on Sportsline. But for those who missed Sportsline, would you like to announce?
Tremendous honor for Tony. Don't worry, Tony. We just hijacked the show without telling you. Tony last night, so Wednesday evening, was notified that he is being inducted into the WAER, Syracuse Radio, Broadcasting Hall of Fame. Sean McDonough and Mike Tirico called in on the show to announce that.
I'm sorry, who?
Sean McDonough, ESPN. Mike Tirico, NBC Sports.
That's pretty big.
Called in. But here's what's big. Tony becomes one of 25, now 26 members of that Hall of Fame. 27 total. You're going in with a class of 2. Yeah. One of just 27 members of that Hall of Fame.
Who might be in that Hall of Fame?
Oh, my goodness. You asked me too fast. Dick Stockton, Marv Albert,
Lynn
Bob
Berman.
Costas, Ted Koppel, Dave Pash, who also used to work
Sean
here, right?
McDonough.
Got his start.
We got 2 guys that used to work here.
Sean McDonough, Bill Roth.
Yeah, Billy Roth and Dave Pash.
Yeah.
Yeah, extremely humbling. Don't know where to start. Appreciate it. 1,000%. Been awesome.
You deserve it. You've kept your nose to the grindstone, worked hard, perfected your art over the years. Very well deserved. Glad to see you there.
Thank you, Hoppy. Now, all I really ever want is just a feature on CBS Sunday morning.
Well, I'll see what.
No,
I'm not gonna. No, never mind.
I think does Scott McFarlane do it? Your story?
Yeah, Scott McFarlane.
I think he's in.
Is he?
I think he's in.
He should be.
I think someone said
he went to Syracuse.
He's in when? The Syracuse Hall of Fame?
I think he might be. He's in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Class of 98.
Yeah. See that, Hop?
Wow. Greg Papa.
Is Greg in?
I believe. I'm looking at the list. It says alumni, so I'm not sure if they're in or not.
Okay.
And the late musician Lou Reed. You're in with Lou Reed.
Class of 64.
Lou Reed.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Oh, boy. Anyway, surprising and just wonderful. I appreciate those guys doing that. We got a football game here, boys. Saturday. Got to get a W with a capital G-O-T. Got to get a W. Hoppy, why'd you just frown? Why did you frown?
Well, a couple of points. One is that I got a lot of things to say about this game, believe it or not. Let me start with this. That you can obviously, let me state the obvious, I'm pretty good at that. You cannot lose the game, okay? You cannot possibly lose the game, number one. Number two, I can't muster a lot of energy to learn a lot about Towson. I'm sorry. I mean, all due respect. I just can't. But I'll tell you this. This is what you need to know about Towson. I think you guys have a little more information. Towson opened with Bucknell. Towson was an 18-point favorite. They won by 1 point in overtime. Towson played Morgan State. They were favored by 24-point spread. They won 29-21. So this is not even a good Towson team that's coming into Morgantown. For West Virginia, with all that's going on, I think from a West Virginia perspective, not necessarily a fan perspective, but the team is, okay, let's start the season. Let's restart. Because you want to forget about the first 2 games and say, hey, this is like starting the season with a lesser opponent. We can improve some things, then go to Virginia Tech and try to get a win. So start the season against Towson. How about that?
See, I think that's a good way to say this, and I'm with you on this. Again, all due respect to Towson, we will talk about a couple of their players. Their quarterback is intriguing. But this, to me, this is about West Virginia. This is about West Virginia.
He's as old as you.
Huh?
Their quarterback's old as you.
I know. Give or take.
Within a year or two.
Yeah.
Anyway.
This is about West Virginia. And it always is when you play these FCS opponents. It's not about the opponent. It's about West Virginia and what it does. Can it fix some of the problems we saw last week defensively and special teams? Can it stack an offensive performance like we saw last week? And I think that's what I'm looking for in this. You saw that receiver group rebound extremely well off of all those drops against Pitt. What they do, they came back, and 3 of those guys had really big games. Ford Wheaton, Sam James, and Caden Prather. So that's what I'm looking for defensively. Does this group get back, get a little of its confidence back, get in the right spots, and handle an opponent that you should handle?
Remember, this team, now players have, this team hasn't won a game. So even though it's Towson, they win the game. You know what they're going to feel like?
That they got to win. They're happy.
Won a game.
Get a win.
They won a game. You know.
And I think you're right as you push forward. Get this win, correct some things, get a little bit of momentum and confidence back, and then you're heading to a massive game in Blacksburg next week. This time next week, that's things turning into the Super Bowl for West Virginia. That is a huge game on the road. This one's about getting yourself right and correcting some errors, in my opinion.
I think it's a good way to frame it up, Hoppy, just as you did, that this is your start over. Okay, so the 2 that you played aren't going to change. The only thing you can do is start over and get momentum to go to Virginia Tech next Thursday. Towson in its first 2 games, despite the fact that they have won, they certainly have struggled to score. They are averaging just over 21 points per game. They're almost 50-50 when it comes to rush and pass offense. They're running it for 193. They're throwing it for 191. They've been very good on third downs. In fact, they're 15th in the country, 52%. Guess what? West Virginia's defense is almost dead last in the country in third down conversions allowed. They're allowing 59%.
Ouch.
Yes, 59%. So when you take a look right now at some of these defensive numbers for West Virginia, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 different defensive categories, they're below 100 in the country. 126 scoring, 123 pass efficiency, 128 I mentioned third down, 115 fourth down conversion. Turnovers gained and lost, 110. Turnover margin, 113.
And here's the worst one. I'll give you the worst one that you don't have on your chart right there. That one, third down conversions have been massive. That's one of the major glaring issues. But how about this one? Last year, West Virginia in red zone touchdown percentage defense was 6th nationally. Only 5 teams were better. You know where they sit this year?
98.
98? Dead last. It's 100% red. You might be looking at red zone scoring. Red zone touchdown percentage is
Touchdown
perfect.
percentage? Yeah.
They're dead last. It's 100%. Every time a team has entered the red zone, they have scored a touchdown. Obviously, that's a problem. Get off the field on third down and try and mix in a field goal instead of a touchdown. You do that, that changes instantly. But you talk about a category that you've fallen from one of the elite nationally into dead last. That's the one, red zone touchdown percentage.
How about that? And Neil Brown is, I mean, they're making some changes. I know they got problems in defensive backfield, but Neil Brown announced they're going to put Ben Wahad and Spells in there. True freshman, Brad. True freshman, but you know what?
Try something.
But try something.
Yeah, try something. And that's the thing. This group's just the question simply defensively is how fast can the whole group, because we focus so much on those defensive backs, but the defensive line too. Kansas absolutely abused the defensive line and had them on skates as well. All 3 levels struggled against Kansas. So this is an entire unit that has to bounce back starting on Saturday.
You mentioned changes in that defensive backfield. So Jacoby Spells is expected to play. You're going to see Wesley McCormick and Rashad Ajayi, the 2 transfers, starting, but then you'll start to see number 28, Jacoby Spells. So I'm going to lean on a belief that I have, and that is if you're going to be good, you're good from the beginning.
Player-wise.
Player-wise.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to be a good player, right when you go out there, you're a good player. And so this guy's got credentials. He's a 4-star. He was ranked by One Service as the 14th best cornerback in the country. He played for Patrick Surtain. He won a 5A state championship in the state of Florida as a junior. He ran a 10.79 100 meters. They like him a lot. Can he go out there and perform? This would be a perfect opportunity to take the cover off of him, because obviously he'll see more talented players going forward, but this would be a great way on the home field before you go out on the road next week to play Virginia Tech. So watch out to see there. And then obviously, Hoppy, as you said, Mumu bin Wahad, who's also a true freshman, Grayson High School in Atlanta, will be moved over to the safety spot. So that's your combination of guys. And then on the other change would be that Sean Martin is going to get more playing time. Last week he had 4 tackles, 2 behind the line, and for the season now, a sack and 3 TFLs. He'll get his first start for WVU. So just like you said, you've got to shore everything up here on both sides before you go out to play the Hokies.
And I would think this provides a nice look or test to see how far you were able to come in that week, because we'll spend a little bit of time on Towson here. Given what their quarterback in particular does and what you just saw on film from Kansas, I think you got to see some of that again this week, don't you?
Absolutely.
Don't you see some option getting to the edge there and making West Virginia show you that they've cleaned up those deficiencies in handling that particular attack from last week?
Yes, because their quarterback, Tyrell Pegram, is averaging 5 yards per tote, 5 yards per carry. He's got 155 yards on 31 carries so far. He has thrown 3 touchdowns, just 1 interception in their first 2 games. So his deal is this, folks. I was teasing earlier, but he's old. He came high school class of 2016. This is his 7th season, he has played at Maryland, Ole Miss, Western Kentucky, and now he is at Towson.
Journeyman.
Yes, he's a journeyman. Neil Brown saw him play and win a state championship in Alabama when he was at Troy because T.J. Simmons, the former WV receiver, was his high school teammate, and they won a state championship in Atlanta, Clay Chalkville High School. And so Neil knows him well, and we had his coach, Rob Ambrose, on Sportsline last night, and he said they were having a conversation yesterday, and they were deciding, okay, how are we going to pull a certain play as far as it sounds like an RPO.
Mm-hmm.
They were talking about an RPO, and Pigum said, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to do this and this. I mean,
Yeah,
player coach on the field.
Coach said he went in the locker room to explain it to the other players, and the players said, yeah, Coach, we already know. Tyrell explained it to us before he'd even got there. And he said like a player coach out there.
Yeah.
Well, he's in his seventh year.
Well, you should remember him. He was the quarterback at Maryland in a season opener against Texas. We were in the studio for our game day coverage watching it. He was running all over Texas, ended in a Maryland win. You proclaimed him a Week 1 Heisman winner.
Did I?
Back at Maryland.
My hard drive is full. I can't.
He's talented.
He's
athletic.
he did a big event at the Mountain Lair last night.
I know, big event.
It was a great event. I mean,
Well, we had Chris Steyerwalt at the Mountain Lair, and everybody wanted to talk about 3 guys.
excuse me.
3 guys.
They
What do you mean? Like for real?
Not during the session with Steyerwalt, but beforehand, we're talking to people, and people go, and you just meet people, and hey, man, I love those 3 guys. You guys, 3 guys.
How
3 guys.
That counts on towards his over for the
Yeah.
month.
So how was that for you when you were out in public? Did you feel okay?
You guys, I was there, and I met 20 people, had wonderful conversations,
Right.
sat and talked to people. Was
Karen submitting your answers when they asked you questions, or was she by with a little notepad? This is what Hoppy wants to say. Did she do that?
I am really mischaracterized about this whole thing.
Wait a second.
I am fine. It was wonderful. I met a lot of people, had great conversations, learned a lot about people I met.
You were in your zone. That's your zone.
That is
Seriously.
my zone.
I mean, that's you. That's your comfort part, not
Just
Subway.
don't go in Subway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Panic.
Which, real quick, can I jump in real quick?
Go ahead and do it.
I myself was out this week, which also is a rare
That
occurrence.
is.
Not as rare as you, but
You and I have never crossed.
that's actually true. That part's actually true. So I was out in public as well, was approached by a nice listener, Kevin here in Morgantown, loves the show, walks daily to the show, so it's very nice. Thanked him. He did say, he goes, you guys, he goes, I cackle every time when you get on Hoppy about a Subway order. It's great, makes me laugh. He said, but you keep forgetting something every time it comes up. He would like me to ask, which I'm now doing, what is your actual order at Subway?
You have to ask Karen.
See, that's what I told him. That's exactly what I said. I said, that's a great point. I'm happy to ask. He won't know. We'll have to get Karen on the phone. Honest to God, he doesn't know.
Call her up.
He doesn't know.
I'm guessing. Can I guess?
Yeah.
Turkey.
Yeah.
Wheat roll.
Yeah.
Probably provolone.
Yeah.
I was just going to say provolone.
That's it.
Lettuce.
Yeah.
Tomato.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Probably light on the onions.
No mayo.
I tell you what.
Will
Will you order for me next time?
and you go oil and vinegar on that instead of mayo.
A little mayo.
And
Light on
baked
mayo.
Lays when you have to pull it off the
Baked
potato
Lays.
chip trees, right? Baked Lays.
Baked Lays, Diet Coke.
There we go.
Oregano, salt, pepper.
No.
Nothing.
No.
Take it clean. I hit him pretty good, didn't I?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, I hit him pretty good. All right. So, couple points. You've got a real problem on Saturday if Towson does what?
Keeps it close.
If
Scores.
you got a real problem. If it's close, you got a problem.
I would say you got a problem if they score more than 10 points.
Well,
I don't know. It depends on when they come.
You've got a problem if they score more than 10 points.
No. Look,
Senator, yes or no?
that's a good line. I thought that was a little bit low. I'll give him 13.5. I'll set the total at 13.5.
if you're up 47-7 in the fourth quarter, and you
Right.
got second and third stringers in there,
Yeah.
and they drive down the field and score, they kick a field goal or something, then That really doesn't matter that much. What matters is what happens in the first 2.5 quarters, the first 3 quarters, when your frontliners are in there and you're trying to perfect your execution. That's when it matters.
Yeah, and
the fourth quarter will matter.
Well, it might not unless the first stringers are still in. We've seen that before, and I think that's what these games tell you is as you try and look what they mean, how badly do you beat them, and how much do you sit on them defensively and make it difficult for them. I think that's what you draw out of these games. We've seen West Virginia teams in the past when it's close against these type of opponents, it's tight. Generally not a great year. It turns into a mediocre year. Mm-hmm. Just because you smash them doesn't mean it's going to be a great year, but you feel better about where your team is. So I do think there's some stuff you can glean about your team when you play these type of games.
I said 10 or 11 because they've played Bucknell and Morgan State, and they've scored 21.5 points per game. Mm-hmm. On the road, at a Power 5, that number should be about 10.
But he's right. You could get a late backdoor touchdown. So I'm giving you 13.5 because if it lends 14, you're like, okay, that's not bad. I'll give you 13.5.
If you get 13.5, I might take the under. I'd take the under on 13.5.
Okay, that's the line.
Okay.
I mean, he gave 10. He gave 10. It immediately got bet up, so it went to 13.5.
So you said later in the week, which is now
under.
You said later in the week, which is now, that we get these offshore lines. So what? I'm sorry, he's going.
Well, I told you on Monday's show, the first one I saw was 27. The offshore line was 27.
Right.
We should be getting the legal books soon. I'll be honest, I haven't looked today. I'm not rushing to the window to play that one.
The 27, you're not? You're not? You wouldn't go take the over on that, like right now?
In 2014, when West Virginia beat Towson 54-0, they finished the season 7-6.
Say that again.
When they beat them 54-0 here in 14, they finished 7-6. On that season. And
under Neil Brown, the James Madison game was close. That was a really good James Madison team, which you knew going in. But that was close. You were lucky to get out of there with a win.
For the Natty, didn't they?
They did. You were lucky to get out of there with a win. And that turned into what, a 6-win season?
Yeah. 7-win
season?
Yeah. So, Neil, that would be 2020?
19
season?
Right. 20, 21, 22. Yeah, 19.
Yeah, they Eastern Kentucky. They beat Eastern Kentucky in 20, 56-10. And in 19, they finished 5-7 and beat the James Madison's 2013. So to your point, really super good FCS team that played for the national championship, and you had to go down to the wire. And that was a tight game. That was a tight game. Had a quarterback that played in the NFL, right? What's the dude's name?
Ben DiNucci. Was on the Cowboys just until a few weeks ago.
Exactly.
With Will Greer.
Hall of Fame weekend, by the way, if you are coming to the game on Saturday, that begins at 10 a.m. 10 a.m.
Can you slip? I mean, there's no rules now. So is Tavon coming? Can you get Tavon in there?
He's not showing. They got practice.
Stedman's coming.
You get Stedman in there?
Yeah, you could probably get Stedman in a uniform. I've always wanted to do that. You know me.
Yeah,
I want a 10-year player. I want schools to be able to have a franchise player that plays for 10 seasons for you. And I also have always wanted to stick a guy in a different uniform with a different name on the back and have him just be a complete ringer. Because that's what happened here, like turn of the century. Like you don't think they were getting guys like in 1904. You don't think they were getting guys that were like 30 years old that like played all over the place. They'd be coming in there. And
Tony, I read last year or so. I read a biography about Jim Thorpe, and when they played, they were always just like paying guys, getting guys, guys going over here and playing guys.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was crazy. But Stedman, you put him in there and somebody raised a question, you just go, COVID. Transfer portal.
Yeah, transfer portal.
Yeah, transfer portal.
Stedman's thrilled. He's coming in.
Oh, it's great.
Unfortunately, Gino won't be here. Tavon won't be here. They'd love to be here. I talked to someone yesterday, and they said...
Where's Tavon?
Bills practice squad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They said those guys, all three of them, when they got the call, They were giddy. They were absolutely giddy.
Was that a good trio? Wow. Pretty good.
So good, man. I was doing some numbers today, going back looking at the record books on those guys.
Silly numbers.
My God.
Yeah.
Silly
Stupid.
numbers.
Just stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, Tavon, how many times did Tavon catch the ball somewhere like over the middle and go, oh, it's on now? It's on.
Best stutter step ever.
Oh.
The stop and go.
Best stutter step
Incredible.
ever.
Those poor defensive backs when they had to see him come in an open space. But think about both of those. And I was reminded of it again the other night because Gino looked great in that game the other night, Monday night game.
Yeah.
He can still sling it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's gonna get no help throughout this year on that Seahawks team. But man, when he sits back there and has some time, dude can still
He
sling
ropes it.
Yeah.
He absolutely does rope it. Yeah, that's why I always say when we do have it going well here, we never fully squeeze and embrace it. We got to capture those moments because,
I think, I try to because when you've seen so much that when you do see it, you go, oh, this is special.
different.
This is different.
But those three
different.
all at one time.
I know.
I mean, think of the poor defensive coordinators having to figure out that. You want to put 2 on Stedman, fine. Now Tavon Austin's running loose.
Well,
you want to try and double him? Now you're going to leave Stedman on an island?
Okay, so what are we saying? You have to have pros to have ultimate success.
Yes.
Pat White, Steve Slayton, Owen Schmidt, Darius Renaud. 1, 2, 3, 4, all played in the NFL. You think that matters?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, you can only go so far with guys that aren't going to play in the NFL. You've got to find a way. Beg, borrow, steal to get those guys because those are the difference makers. That's what you have to have, right?
Because, how many times, I think it's more so, it's true more in college than pros. In the pros, the talent level is so high, and I think it's pretty equal on so many levels. But, Brad, we're watching Football Day Saturday, doing our broadcast, and then we'll kind of go, oh, a guy made a play. Oh, a guy made a play. Oh, God. It's not about scheme. In so many instances, it's not about scheme or anything. It's like, oh, this guy beat that guy.
Yeah, and we spend so much time and fans and analysts spend so much time in college sports on the head coach in particular, and it's so much credit and so much blame when you're right. At the end of the day, guys have to make plays. They just have to. And that's not to say coaching doesn't matter. Obviously it does, and getting your team prepared. But at the end of the day, you got to have guys. You're right, Tony. You got to have guys that can make plays when the scripted play or the play that's sent in isn't exactly as it was drawn up. That's the story's oldest time.
To your point, so we had a bad game at Boston College when Pac-Man Jones was here, just like walking through molasses the entire game. And it comes rug cutting time. Pac-Man Jones goes back to return a punt. And I'm saying, these are the differences. Pac-Man took a punt and basically gave the middle finger to everyone on the field and said, I got this, and just went, decided a game.
Yeah.
Decides a game. That's what this team is not doing now. You don't have that explosive guy that makes a play that turns the entire complexion of a game around. You don't have a defensive lineman coming from behind and smacking the quarterback's arm, knocking the ball free for an easy pickup and a return down the field. You're not getting that.
I would say this, Tony. I hear you, and I generally agree. I think you see the potential, though, for a JT Daniels and a Bryce Ford Wheaton
absolutely
to make a play. And we've seen them make plays so far. I think what you're not seeing on defense, particularly in the defensive back, is it's just a guy that, to a degree stills, but the guy comes in, knocks the ball out, a guy that picks off a pass, a guy that comes in, beats off the block, gets a sack. I mean, you're seeing some of that, but you're not seeing enough of that.
Gotta make plays. As cliche and as trite as it sounds, and it sounds so silly. Make a play. No, that's what decides the game. You make a negative play, fatal mistake, i.e. we've seen it in each of the last 2 games, you lose the game. Mm-hmm. That's the fatal mistake. You don't make a positive play, then you're going to have a good chance, if you do, to win the game.
When the game is even,
yes.
Like these last 2 games have been. So when it's even, Brad, what makes the difference? Turnovers and making a play.
Correct. And West Virginia struggled in those areas. The penalties and turnovers have absolutely killed this group. But you're right, Hop. You've got guys out there that have shown you in flashes, even defensively. Go back to last year, I think one of the bigger wins in Neil Brown's tenure here, over Virginia Tech here. Remember how tight that was getting late? Mm-hmm. I mean, that got nervous time late. Who was just absolutely dominant at the end of that game defensively? Jared Bartlett. Jared Bartlett just did the reverse Pac-Man. Didn't have the ball, just says, that right? You can't stop. You cannot stop me, and I'm coming, and you can't do anything about it. And had the multiple sacks and the forced fumble and was just dominant. So you've seen guys on this roster have moments where they've been dominant. You've just got to put it together on both sides of the ball for the same game.
The analogy to making plays is in basketball, got to make shots. Right? What do we always say in basketball? Well, things are really always so much easier if all we got to do is make shots. Just make shots. If you make shots, you got a chance. You got to make shots. Make shots is make plays in football.
Yeah, or who okay, it's tight. Who gets the ball?
Yeah.
Give me the ball.
Yeah, and admittedly, that's the challenge in football. In basketball, you can say, give me the ball, clear it out, and I'm going to go make a play. That you can't do that in football,
right,
especially on the defensive side. But the point remains. Guys have to make plays.
My good buddy, Dwight Wallace, you've heard it 1,000 times. It takes one man with courage. That's always his line. One guy has to field a punt. One guy has to make a tackle. One guy has to start this thing. One man with courage makes a play.
Well,
one way, the whole quote, which is Dwight always stops short, I think. One man with courage makes a majority. Makes a majority. So what, meaning one man, that is a majority. If you have one guy who makes a play, one guy who has courage, one guy who makes a play, that lifts everything else up.
We've said it a bunch on this show, but speaking of ex-coaches, we sit by Dunlap most of our game day broadcasts. He's one that constantly preaches they're going to screw it up. They'll screw it up. Not meaning not West Virginia, meaning the other team. And that's why you see coaches do make the decisions they do sometimes, because they're just trying to avoid mistakes because they figure the other team, given the chance, will probably screw it up and lose the game for you. And unfortunately for West Virginia, that's what's happened. You've had guys make negative plays that have cost you the games.
Yeah, that was Don Nealon's entire philosophy. He said, I would rather have a team start at their 20-yard line and try to go 80 yards because invariably it'll come to a point where they'll screw it up more times than not, and we'll get the ball and we'll be okay.
And I think, frankly, that's one of the differences in the Big 12. When you played in the old Big East, there were teams that would screw it up, okay? And in Big 12, it doesn't happen as much, okay? I don't think you can count on those Big 12 teams as much to screw it up.
I received a text today from a loyal listener. In fact, the guy that produced this song you're about to hear. And he said he's in the studio.
Was he working on something?
He's working on something. He's in the studio. He's working on something. But in total transparency, admitted, I couldn't go in to the studio after the Kansas game. He needed some time.
Understood.
He needed some time. And we just hope that his next version is as good as this little number, which, ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to announce, is charting big time. Number one this week in the Cayman Islands after a number one run.
Cayman Islands?
Yeah, Guam. They're dancing in nightclubs to this song in Guam. I've heard that.
Confirmed.
All over. People in Guam.
San Martin?
People in Guam on dance floors, and what's crazy about it is
St. Lucia?
all wearing T-shirts that say hoppy, hoppy, hoppy. They're just doing the old hoppy, hoppy, hoppy dance in Guam.
Grand Caymans.
Virgin Islands?
ABC Islands. Aruba.
Bahamas.
Fiji Islands.
American Samoa?
Belize.
Get to the text.
Did you say Belize?
Belize.
Nice Belize reference. Guatemala?
Outer Banks.
Just get to the text.
All right, man. Let's do this thing. Down here on vacation in Orlando, thinking about the loss, so frustrating. Even though Kansas is much better, they'll win some games. It seems like this year's season is going to be the same old story. We always get hyped up. We find out that we have an offense, but we've got no defense. We can never seem to get both at the same time. Ridiculously hard, but why is that? Why can't we put it all together? Side note, JT Daniels is clearly a pro playing with college players. Just hope he stays positive, doesn't get frustrated. I'll always cheer on WVU. I'll still be watching, patiently waiting for them to put it together. Keep up the great work, three guys. You guys are great. I never miss an episode. Sorry for the long text. Signed. Did you see how that's signed? Hunter's Slim Jim.
Fly Rod Slim Jim.
Fly Rod Slim Jim. Yeah.
It was the best.
Oh, boy. I gave Hunter yesterday some really super long Slim Jim beef jerkies.
Did you?
Yes, I did. Texter, what is the age demographic for listeners of your show? I am listening to episode 400, and I'm shaking my head. I graduated from the university in 1969. That means I've been watching WVU for over 50 years. I can assure your listeners that we have been committing fatal mistakes that cost us games for all of those 50 years under every coach since Jim Carlin. It's surely a different era now, but Brown's the guy signed Geezer in Pennsylvania. Texter, Tony, the old Kansas is dead. Bad snap at Oklahoma last year, pick 6 at pick, roughing the passer against Kansas, cost us 3 games. We are very close. Scopes, 3 hop and spreads. By the way, I told him before the show, this spreads is like, it may surpass the Senator. Spreads may surpass the Senator. First of all, I love the show. Thanks for all you do. This is my first text to the guys. I usually just enjoy everyone else's shenanigans through text, but I had to correct Tony in his error. Pendleton County got some credit with Snowshoe at the end of your last show. I'm here to tell you that the 9,000-some residents of Pocahontas County will not stand for that. With all due respect to Pendleton County, they certainly cannot receive Snowshoe as theirs. Randolph has a better claim to being close to Snowshoe, but it is in fact in my beloved home of Pocahontas. I'm displaced living in Richmond these days, and listening to y'all gives me a huge taste of home. But when Pendleton got credit for having Snowshoe, I could not let that stand. Thank you guys for making my 1.5-hour daily commute tolerable. You're more appreciated than you know. Johnny, originally from Huntersville, West Virginia. So is Snowshoe Pocahontas or Snowshoe Randolph?
I think it's Pocahontas, but let me check.
He gets credit for using shenanigans in the text. That was good.
The old
due respect.
The old Pocahontas-Pendleton rivalry.
Yeah.
Very good.
It might be, I don't know what it is.
I assume Johnny owns land in Pocahontas as well, right?
Yeah, his family.
Everybody has
probably
family.
Everybody's got a place.
You got a hunting lodge, too.
Yeah, got land.
Yeah, we got land.
Pocahontas County, Snowshoes in Pocahontas.
So I hit that right?
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I didn't say Snowshoes in Randolph.
You said Pendleton. He says.
Oh, my bag. Okay.
Your bag, his bag.
Here we go. TC Brad and Hoppy Cubed. May I make a prediction? Neil Brown will eventually right the ship, turn our program around. He'll go 8-4, 9-3 in 2023 and go on to win a bowl game. Mountaineer Nation will be satisfied again. Meanwhile, in 23, Mark Stoops at Kentucky wins the SEC East, narrowly misses making the college football playoff. Notre Dame under Marcus Freeman will continue their struggle through 23. Notre Dame will hire Mark Stoops away from Kentucky. Kentucky will come calling. Neil Brown will run home to them. Hoppy will have been correct all along. Neil Brown will have 5 years in Morgantown, and West Virginia will again be on the coaching carousel.
Can I say something on behalf of Neil Brown? I know that's going to be unpopular these days.
Sure, go ahead.
But his press conference this week, and I get wins and losses. I mean, if they finish with 4 wins or 3 wins, then you got to take a real serious look at where you are. But this week he said the following: you don't sugarcoat these things. The brutal reality is we're 0-2. Here's what happens, and this comes from a really good spot, and it even happens to me. The people that you're around the most and really care for you the most, they want to protect you, and they want you to know that everything is going to be okay. They'll say, okay, you did the best you could. Maybe it's not your fault. It's the coach's fault or someone else's fault. That's BS. That's not accurate. The bottom line is it's not okay. We're 0-2, haven't done the things we need to do to win football games. I have always appreciated his candor. He's not making an excuse. He's not saying, well, the defensive back stuff. He's not. Now, it's his responsibility. He's the head coach, but he's also not making excuses. He's saying the very same thing the fans are saying. This is not acceptable. He's not offering his resignation because people want him fired, but Brad, he's accepting responsibility for what is unacceptable.
Yeah, I've said all along, one of the things I like the best about him, he does do a great job in press conferences of communicating that instead of just shutting it down and going off. But the flip side is, and he's right, he says this, Tony said to you this week, now you got to go win games.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that gets you over this hump. Go win games, turn it around, and all that noise goes away. But that's a challenge. That's a challenge for him, those coaches, and those players to be able to shut out that noise and go to work. That's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Previous text came from Steve and Pat Wilson in Tornado, West Virginia. They had a PS, postscript. Tony, we put up 12 quarts of San Marzano tomatoes from our garden this year. We will plant more plants next year. See?
Wow. You started a whole.
Well, I met those.
You did them?
I know them, but I talked with them at the TBT, and they had updated me at that point in July how the San Marzanos were going, and now to hear they've got.
Those are real San Marzanos. They are, but they aren't. Is that?
Well, no, they are. I mean, they're the seeds. So they're the seeds. So to have 12 quarts, and now for them to be as happy as they are to put up more next year, and putting up, by the way, Brad, is a classic line.
Yeah.
Put up 12 quarts. That's like Brad always like. What's that word when we put like a bunch of onions and pepper?
Cook down.
Cook down. Cook down and put up.
Put up.
Those are the best.
My mother and grandmother, they always just said, they didn't even say putting up. They just said put up.
Put up.
We put up beans today.
Yeah.
We put up corn today.
Yeah. I like that. Texter writes, hello, Scopes, Spreads, and Hoppy. Tyler from Mineral County. I feel like we have the curse of the Bambino. I think someone at some time from West Virginia ticked off the football gods, and they've been watching and listening to West Virginia for over 50 years. Seems like some unbelievable circumstances always happens. Great show. I hope you guys do make it to 800 episodes. Sean from Roanoke writes, one of the first things Coach Brown said when taking over, he wanted to be a program that doesn't beat themselves. During year one, we have the delay of game penalty against Baylor. Thursday night, that cost us the game. Year two, scoop and score with James fumbling the ball against Tech. Last year, we had the drop punt against Maryland. Then a bad snap, drop pass in the end zone against Oklahoma, not to mention what would have been a total meltdown last year against Virginia Tech if our defense wouldn't have bailed us out. I'm sure I'm missing a few others, but we are a program that beats ourselves. I don't know how you fix that, but at some point, especially after those first two games, you are just who you are. Right now, we're a program that constantly beats ourselves. Texter, Lloyd Braun here. Hello. I meant to text before episode 400. I didn't get it done. The touchdown before the half, I've seen a Kansas receiver line up past the line of scrimmage. Did anyone else notice that?
Did not.
I'll tell you one thing I did notice. Senator and I were watching tape yesterday. The tight end, that was on their touchdown, wasn't it? Or 47. Their tight end comes over in motion.
Yeah.
And he never sets.
What is this, Canada?
That peed me off. Texter.
Yeah, he wasn't happy about that. Assessing on that.
Texter, hello, Scope, Spreads, and 888. No, it didn't cost them the game, but it's just those little things that make me stupid. Hello, Scope, Spreads, and Triple H. This is a good team, I believe it. Two quality opponents to open the season is tough. I know what a lot of people are thinking. Kansas is a quality opponent. Yes, they are. They're going to win some games. West Virginia will not be the only school left shaking their heads this season while muttering, Kansas just beat us. However disappointed I am staring at a season 0-2, I must say the biggest gut punch came when listening to episode 400. What do you mean there's not going to be an episode 800? That's absurd. You guys do a great job. Look forward to every one. Triple H said he would be good for 400 more, but Scopes and Spreads didn't sound so sure. What the heck? I implore you to carefully reconsider and take into consideration just how much you three clowns are loved and appreciated by the true gold and blue fans.
Clowns. Corky the Clown.
Good
P.S.
clown.
I really don't think of you three as clowns.
Oh.
But if you guys quit, before episode 300, then yes, that will make you clowns. LOL.
So we do a 2 week, so that's
Only plain. Thanks for
years.
everything you guys do, and looking forward to the next 400 episodes. Let's go, Mountaineers.
Good clown reference.
If there's going to be 800, some things are going to have to change. That's what I'll leave it at that.
What do you mean?
Exactly what I mean. We're going to have to make
2
some.
times 2 equals 104.
There won't be 800. We just got to play one game at a time. Just get to 450 first, then 500, then worry about 800.
Just get a few first downs.
Make a play. Make a podcast. Gentlemen, the attendance at the Towson game may be a measuring stick as to how low interest in West Virginia football has fallen. Looks like good weather. So what's the over-under? 42,000, asks CL in Clarksburg.
Ask Brad. It's Brad's bailiwick.
I set the number at 45.
So you're over 42. I always go back to the 1992 home finale. It was as close to the North Pole as possibly it could be. Like straight ice storm, like the bleachers were frozen. West Virginia was having a horrific year, losing season. and there were 27 or 28,000 people. I always maintain that like you could have lightning hitting the bleachers and there'd be 28 there. So 28 is always your number that you start from. 28 is always the number. Texter. Gentlemen, sometimes I wonder how a large portion of our fan base manages to get dressed in the morning. Do they really think you guys are going to fire up a new episode and start trashing the team after a loss? Tony, seeing as you're the announcer, I'd assume that makes you a university employee, correct? So why would our fans think you're going to start trashing everyone when we have a bad loss? Last time I checked, it's probably not acceptable to start trashing your own company in the company-wide chats, emails, if your boss makes a decision you don't agree with. Of course, you guys are always going to take the optimistic angle. Anyways, I'll hang up and listen.
Not to be defensive, I think, and Tony, you're in a unique position because you are the play-by-play announcer for the Mountaineers. Brad and I are in a little bit different position. But, Tony, I think for the guy who is the voice of the Mountaineers, I think you're very candid in your assessment of the Mountaineers. I think that's to your credit. And for Brad and I think we're practical, candidly. I think that, we can be emotional about the Mountaineers, but I think also we take, I don't want to speak for Brad, but Brad can speak for himself, but I think we take a practical approach when we look at this. Brad?
No, I think that's well said. And if you've listened to this show through the time, there has been some times when we've said a change needs to happen, a change is overdue, a change needs to take place. I'm just of the opinion, I'm trying to give you my honest take on this, and I'm trying to evaluate it as I would evaluate it if I were Shane Lyons. That's how I look at things, and that's how I've tried to present this particular situation. If circumstances change and dictate that a change needs to be made, we'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I'm just what you've heard so far is what I actually think on the situation.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that we're fair. I think that we're honest. I don't walk out of here going like, hey, man, really BS'd them this time. I'm telling you exactly what I think. If you were to see me in private, I'd tell you exactly the same way. Am I in a unique situation? Yeah. But WVU has never once like come to me and said like, hey, man, like you can't say that. No. I think because Neil's honest, right? Neil is out there front and center. He's being honest about it. Hugs is honest. Hugs tells you exactly what he's thinking. So I think there is honesty out there. And I think that's probably, I think there's always going to be a group, if you take the entire listenership of whatever it is, whether it's this program, whether it's Hoppy's program, whatever program it is, there are going to be people that have different opinions, and they're looking at Hoppy, or they're looking at us for their confirmation bias, right? Mm-hmm. They want to hear us say what they think in order to confirm what it is they think. Well, you're not going to get that, and so that pisses off that group of people, and that's fine, cool. And on the other side, there are people that think the way that we think, and so we are confirming what they think. And then, of course, those are the two extremes. The majority of people are somewhere in that middle, and that's why I think this show has had success, because we've been real about it. So that's the big deal. That's the reality. That's how I kind of look at it. Meanwhile, signed by Old Man and Kenna. I've got a different take on the disappointment. Am I disappointed in the last two seasons? Of course. Last two losses, I should say. My disappointment is in the fans. I was at the Kansas game, stayed till the end as I watched people leave during the fourth quarter complaining about the coach, complaining about everything else. After the game, my first game at West Virginia was at Old Mountaineer Field, 1970-8, against Cal, and that was a loss as well. Over the years, we've seen all kinds of different losses, but we've also seen some fantastic wins. Too many to name. When we look at the other teams around college football, you see how bad Alabama was before Nick Saban, Nebraska with all of their problems, Florida, lots of coaching changes. So these problems are not just a WVU issue. I've seen a fantastic fan support when we are winning, but when we are losing, our fans complain and run away. For a night game at West Virginia, it should have been a sellout. Until we correct this problem, we will never attract great coaching. Mason and Mason County, scopes, spreads, and Hoppy ×3. This spreads thing. It's a T-shirt.
On, yeah.
It's a damn T-shirt. I'm just telling you, it's a T-shirt.
I know, but as much as that's caught on, the Hoppy.
Oh, it's bigger.
Is way bigger.
Well, the shirt could be all three. It could be scopes, spreads, Hoppy.
Mm-hmm. Texter, Now that my blood pressure has dropped, I may have a coherent thought. Do you think our mental gaffes are just players trying to do too much? It seems that we are always pressing the limits of our abilities instead of playing to them. Get back on the climb. The rope may be frayed, but it's still there. Mason County.
I don't think that's really his name.
Probably not. Phil from
text.
Phil from Perryopolis. That is his real name, because if it wasn't, he would go Perry from Perryopolis.
Fair point.
Hey, Scope, Spreads, and Hoppy Cube. Thanks for positive, reasonable takes after a rough couple of weeks. Nice to get a break from the doom and gloom message boards and fan sites. Neil Brown is going to be here next year unless someone has $25 million lying around to buy out all the current coaches plus playing the new guys. So let's hope he can turn it around. Matt and Weston, hey, guys, I've got a question about the defensive line play against KU. Unable to watch the game. Noticed during the radio broadcast the D-line was rarely mentioned. Haven't heard a lot said about them. I know the back-end guys made a lot of mistakes, but wondering why there wasn't more push up front to help get the KU offense out of rhythm. Super good question.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't. They weren't nearly as effective as they were against Pitt for various reasons, but they did not gum the things up.
Did I hear one of the WVU coaches say that Kansas used the same formation like only a couple times?
4 times. Once, the only formation they used 4 times, everything else.
You know what? And that's good. That's a good plan. That's a good plan for inexperienced defense and defensive backs that don't know, that are looking around going, what do we do here?
That's the thing. And I know we got some text killing us for saying it, but we came in here on Monday and said that had a lot to do with Kansas. Pitt ran an offense in that first half in particular that played right into WV's hands. I formation, run it straight ahead. West Virginia handled that. Kansas did a fantastic job formationally, as you just heard there, but I thought just executing on the edge. Yeah. They identified that the edges for West Virginia on either side continued to crash, and the guys that were left on the edge couldn't contain and were 5 yards back when they couldn't. They just kept running that option at them and then turned that into a pass play, right? When the linebackers were sucked up. You just go right down the line. I credit, West Virginia has to clean up their stuff. There's no question. Kansas was able to take advantage of West Virginia's deficiencies, and I thought they did a tremendous job.
Next text.
And meanwhile, now you're hearing Lance Leipold is one of the leading candidates at Nebraska. Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
How fast that goes.
Yep.
So congratulations, Lance Leipold, on your new raise and extension that is coming.
Yep.
Good. Get him out. He did a pretty
That's
good
what I said
job.
in our pregame show. I said, Kansas needs to be bad. You want Kansas to be bad. You don't need Kansas being good.
Get Charlie Weiss back in there.
All due respect.
Yeah, I said all due respect.
Next text comes from a medical doctor. 3 guys.
By the way, that wouldn't pass mustard at Nebraska, would it? Would they go, would they like puff out if it's the guy from Kansas?
I think it'd be a great hire.
Former assistant there. But I don't know that that's high profile. We just hired the Kansas coach.
Hey, guess what? Frank Solich wasn't high profile. They'd walk on their knees in glass now to get him back when he was in his prime. Whoops.
Bo Pelini.
Congratulations, Matt Campbell, on your forthcoming extension and raise. It's about to come.
That'll probably be his fourth extension. 3 guys. There will absolutely be an 800th episode of this show. I will take the over every time. Number 2, to Seth in Florida, who texted that he had the taste of bile in his mouth the morning after the Kansas loss. I recommend proceeding to the nearest emergency department, as that raises concern for a bowel obstruction.
Ooh.
Those are my official, unofficial thoughts and medical advice signed by the 3 guys GI doc. Well, this is the gentleman who always loved when we would say that Comax provides a computer colonoscopy for businesses. He does the real colonoscopy.
You know where I didn't know this. I thought bile came from your stomach. Bile comes from your liver.
Yeah.
I thought it came from your stomach.
No. 3 guys GI doc knows that. I mean, I would defer to him. I mean, like if it was like political redistricting, I'd go to you. for bile, I'm going to him. I'm going to GI doc. Find the best guy. Thank you very much. Mike in Gilbert Creek, West Virginia. The best thing for me that came from the Kansas game was running into the basketball team. While talking to Eric Stevenson, he says they have a really good squad, and they're going to be tough to beat. Trust and hugs. Let's go. So he ran into the Hoopers.
I'm going to need a program.
7 News.
Start to recognize
absolutely.
the players,
There's
right?
some new guys.
Greg in Catlettsburg. Good day to the apologist, cynic, and complainer. parentheses, just kidding. Brad, I am one in, insert a number, who doesn't mind your rant on blown calls by officials. Are they human? Yeah. Will they err sometimes? Sure. But they're paid well enough to avoid bonehead calls. Last Saturday, as my wife and I watched the Marshall Notre Dame game, the score was tight, and there was a couple of ticky-tack flags against Marshall. As I sourly shook my head and my wife screamed, and I screamed, you see, they're screwing us. They won't let us win. So bitch away, my friend. I know it's justified.
Thanks, Greg. I try and keep those to a minimum.
You know, I haven't thought this through. I know that shocks you, but there probably needs to be something about the game in football where there's more explanation of calls. Wouldn't that help? I mean, the officials, because the officials get together, they talk, and then sometimes they explain, but they don't always say what the rationale is. And wasn't it one of the startup football leagues you actually heard in the booth what they were discussing?
Yes,
what it was,
correct.
Which was, that was helpful. I didn't think like, this is a super secret thing. That was helpful because you knew
No, there's no question.
what they were looking at and
No.
why they were looking at certain things. And most people have just a cursory understanding of the rules. And when you hear an explanation or see what they're evaluating, I think a rational person can go like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, more transparency.
Yes.
More transparency and better communication would lead more people to say, or less people to say, the fix is on, we're getting screwed. If they came out and said, here's why this is not a catch, in a better way. So now, one of the great additions to television in the last 10 years has been the official who is available, but you don't have that at every game. But you're right. Like a nice pickup would be if you could find enough people that could do it, that can do a great explanation. But right now we're limited to the major broadcasts of games in order to have a rules explainer in there. But you're right.
And that's helpful. The stuff they do with the pros or big college games, that's helpful.
Yeah. Hey, three guys. Tim in Austin. I wanted to say thanks for your honest reviews of the games. I see a lot of good in this coach and this team. I was at the Pitt game, and I'll be at the Texas game regardless of our record. On a lighter note, I just saw the new national ad campaign for IHOP. They now have an IHOPPY hour. No joke. I think all bars and restaurants in West Virginia should change happy hour to hoppy hour. Who doesn't like a hoppy beer? Let's go Mountaineers.
Tremendous.
Is that IHOP has a happy hour?
They have, yeah.
IHOP?
They have a hoppy hour.
Hoppy hour?
IHOPPY
I mean, do you
hour.
get like
IHOPPY
extra
hour.
pancakes or do you have alcohol?
I don't know, but there should be an NIL deal in there for you.
Does IHOP serve alcohol? They don't serve alcohol, right?
No, IHOPPY. IHOP.
I know,
IHOPPY.
but does IHOPs don't serve alcohol, right?
Thing.
You got to bring it with you and order juice.
I mean, by God, you should be getting NIL out of that, or at least Subway, for God's sakes.
What about
as much as
As many
Vic-
references as Subway's got on the damn program, you should get some free sandwiches, even though you don't know what your free sandwich would be.
What?
Should get something out of that.
I got something.
What?
Right across the street. Grace. No,
What?
why? Grace, across the street at the Apothecary Ale House.
Our official tavern of
why
that's
wouldn't
three
she-
guys?
It's very good.
Yeah.
That might be our first foray into public appearance and live
think there's any
podcast
question.
situations. Just call it Hoppy Hour
Oh, perfect.
No,
with
well,
three guys.
And before the weather changes, she's got that great outside area. We could just hold court. We could set up a table back there and just put a little PA out there. And I guarantee, but Hoppy,
That might have legs because you and I then only have to walk across the parking lot. We don't have to go very far.
that would be perfect.
That's what that's what I need is like happy hour and like
Hoppy hour.
Hoppy
Hoppy
hour.
hour.
Need somebody to drive me home.
Okay, Grace.
That's a good text. Thanks, Tim.
Grace,
good
think
idea.
about it.
Driving.
Think
I
about
can't
it.
drive after that.
Well, you walk across the street and just lay
Well,
down.
I got to get home. I can't.
He's got a couch in his office.
I
Just
got
come
a couch
sleep
in my
the
office. Just goes lay down there for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 2 hours, and you go home. Or Karen, heck, she can come pick you up. She orders your food.
Come order the beer.
By the way, they have this thing called Uber.
In Morgantown?
new
You got
con-
Uber in Morgantown?
New concept, yeah. Text her.
Another free brand mention.
We're like NASCAR now. Well, we went over. We took the Uber over
Well,
to
no, because the NASCAR
Apothecary
guys get
and
something out of that.
Then went to Subway
You
and
know what I did?
They mention it, and they get something.
You know what I did
You're
week
getting
one?
no Subway
get
love.
nothing.
You know what I did week one, Hoppy? I told him. Ohio State Notre Dame game, right? Saturday night. So I forget what I ate dinner. I'm sitting there going, man, I could really go for some ice cream. But we got like no ice cream because we just don't put ice cream. I kind of do. It's a long story.
Okay.
Because we crush it. So I said to Joan, she's over in the car. I said, hey, if you were to get a blizzard, like what kind of blizzard would you get? And she goes, she gave me something. I said, that's pretty interesting. So I got it like that Uber Eats thing on my phone.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, I'm doing this. I've never done this. So I put in 2 blizzards, ordered them. I'm watching a little car. Here it comes. Doorbell rings. Out I go. Dude there says, hey, Tony, what's up? Gives me 2 blizzards.
Really?
Walk back in the house. Blizzard.
Really? Now, what's the extra charge on that?
It's like $7, like nothing.
That's pretty good.
Like I got 2 blizzards for like $15, $14. Didn't have to leave. Walk to my porch.
Here's your blizzard, Mr. Caridi. What kind did you get?
I went with something. I went with like chocolate brownie and chocolate chip in there. It was stupendous.
One of those new ones that's out?
By the way, large. Got a large. Crushed it. Felt guilty, but it was good. I was in my food zone.
It's okay. You
time
can eat
limit.
it because you're in your food
I was getting
zone.
close to the
Is that
time.
why you were tracking the Uber driver to make sure he got there within your window?
Yeah, hurry up, man.
If you're not here by 8, I can't have it.
Yeah.
Have to put it in the freezer.
Texter, I think WVU fans need to step off the ledge. What if after West Virginia does what they should against an FCS opponent, Kansas goes out and beats Houston on the road? Not out of question, Kansas' loss could look much different by Saturday at 8 p.m. As I said immediately after the game in a text that didn't make the cut for Monday, I believe Neil Brown will be a good coach somewhere. There are 10 opportunities left for him to show it will be at West Virginia. If the secondary is able to make marginal improvements and become competent, I think this team can pull off an upset or two. It is way too early to give in.
The good thing about Towson is that you will get a win. The bad thing is it's like the passing game, right? 2 of the 3 things that happen are bad. The bad thing would be if you lost, it's unimaginable. That changes everything. If it's a close game or you make a bunch of mistakes or you look bad, then people are still bummed out. And even if you win big, Brad, it's still going to be, well, okay, you beat them, but now this. So it really is. It's just potentially the beginning of something.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to frame it. You want a Kansas plus 10 against Dana and the Houston Cougars?
I might take that.
Actually, down to plus 8.5 now on DraftKings here in the state.
I wish I gotten it at 10. I might take that at 10.
You take Kansas and a bounce back after one of their biggest wins.
I mean, Houston just got beat in overtime. Did not look great.
Struggled in game
Tech
1.
Struggled. So where's the game?
Houston.
I might.
It's a conference matchup.
Would you take that?
Well, you talk about a stay away. I mean, it's a great situation for Houston, to be honest. Kansas off that. You talk about a tough spot. I'm not sure I'd bet on Dana and Houston with the big bag of money from you. I mean, I don't want any part of that thing.
They've lost.
That's a bad 2 sides right there.
Houston's been in
Dana
overtime
and Houston
twice.
that are struggling, and he's going to go for it on every 4th down wherever he is and do crazy wild stuff. Or Kansas trying to come back after what was a huge win for them, go on the road again. They've won 2 of their last 58 road games.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, probably.
What?
I know what Brad Powers is going to say. What you say? Stay away. Stay away.
Texter, hello, scope, spreads, and hoppy times 3. Okay. I've had some time to settle down, gather my thoughts. Now it's just like when your mom and dad would say, I'm not mad, just disappointed. P.S. You gents have the best podcast. I got probably 15 podcasts, and yours is the only one I wait for to come out each week. Keep up the great work. Love the show. Big disappointed guy in Mullins.
That's nice.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Signed, next one, Hot Rod in Woodbridge, Virginia. 3 guys after further review. I wish you guys would have used episode 400 for an interview with Hugs and ask him about his speech for his acceptance into the Hall of Fame. Side note, I believed in the climb before the season began. Now I believe in the pit, since we seem to be going down that road, mountain, muddy road, pit. I'm usually always positive about everything, but the last 2 games have me going to the opposite direction. Shannon in D.C., hello, Scope, Spread, Triple H. This past week has been one of the most frustrating as a Mountaineer fan, not because of the Kansas game, even though that was rough, but because the fan base seems to be delusional. If I hear bring back Rich Rod or go get Jimbo, I'm going to lose it. We are 2 games in the words of a wise man. It's never as bad and it's never as good as it seems. Let's go get a W this week. Matthew from the Morgantown Kroger. How much should JT play in this game? 1 series, 2 series, 1 quarter? Is it worth risk having him out there as injury-prone as he has been? Also, why are we always having to fix things, as Neil says? It's like playing whack-a-mole. Fix one thing, another pops up. Sean in Florida writes, hi, gentlemen. I got a question. I would have expected to be a hot topic going into the Towson week, but has been completely overshadowed by the 0-2 start and poor performance against Kansas. Who's quarterback number 2? And who will receive action after Daniels is hopefully pulled? I also have some suggestions for renaming the podcast if Neil doesn't turn things around as this year progresses. 3 somber guys before the game, 3 guys trying to talk people down from the ledge after the game, or 3 guys forget about the game and discuss food instead. I love the podcast. Sean in Florida. I think Garrett Green's the 2. Be my guess.
It's a great text, though, because if West Virginia were even 1-1, or certainly 2-0, that would be the discussion. Who's 2 when you get JT out of there? Get JT out of there. Who's in? Is Nico in? Good text.
Nico, Garrett Green. Let's hope that we have that
this week. Right?
Conversation this week.
Now, Garrett got a snap in the first game, didn't he?
We got one tote for 5 yards. Yeah. King Rob from Reston, second-time texter. First off, congratulations on episode 400. Not sure what I would do without the podcast. I'm basically an Uber driver to my kids with their travel sports, and 3 guys brings me entertainment and enjoyment as I'm hauling them around town. Second, I absolutely believe that 800 episodes is possible. I think the goal should be to do more podcasts than Huggy Bear has wins by the end of his career.
So if he is tantamount to an Uber driver, can he give me a ride home from the apothecary?
We'll bring him in.
Probably.
We'll bring him in. Reston, though. That's a long haul from Reston. Not Weston. Not Weston, but Reston.
Oh.
Yeah,
Reston,
but
Virginia.
King Rob may be here for the event and then be able to just Uber.
Yeah.
I'll be home.
Hoppy will absolutely make it 5 years. He shouldn't think twice about it. Things got to change. For us to get to 800 episodes, things got to change.
What do you keep saying that? What do you mean? I don't understand what you mean. You just got things got to change. What is it? You sound like a dissatisfied NBA player.
Yeah,
Something's got to change here. Something has to change.
Yeah.
And you two, you're adding. You're also cryptic, Brad.
Be nice.
Well, I don't
be
know.
nice. Be nice if the people in the company kind of recognize what they have. Be nice. Meanwhile, third,
I had a discussion just today about 3 guys with somebody who's pretty high up the food chain in this company.
did they know that there was a show called 3 Guys?
Absolutely.
Did you have to tell them? Hey, we've been doing a podcast.
No.
Okay.
And in fact, this individual, his initials are George Pelletier, has an interest in having more of our podcasts in a central place where people can access them, and we do a better job promoting them. So it's at the highest levels.
That's great.
Now you can stop sulking.
Probably a pretty good idea since it's the most listened to sports podcast.
I
just
talked to him about it.
Salespeople might want to know. Third, let's give the coach until the end of the year and evaluate at that point. I'll probably just have to sell it. If we get to 800, I'll probably just have to go out there and sell it myself. Probably what's going to have to happen, which I'll do. I still think you talk about sitting on something here to sell product. Holy, unbelievable.
I thought, well,
third,
with all the product placements we have.
Yeah. Third.
What? Although we've dropped off of the football team in Texas. What happened there?
Working on that. That's so.
You are not working on
There's
that.
been recent discussions.
Seriously.
There's been recent discussions. Nothing to report back.
That's like.
Is Skylar? Did you find? Is Skylar's coaching, right?
Yeah, man.
What was going on? I mean, we were all in. We had Skylar Howard on the show. We were on this Texas team. We followed him for like a week and a half. It was hard to get the score. It had to be mailed to us.
Yeah.
And now I don't know what's going on with
There was a bad fight. There was a bad fight.
A bad fight?
Oh yeah, you didn't see that fight?
No.
On field, you're talking.
Yeah, his team got in a fight.
Sometimes in the startup world, you take flyers on things, and those things don't always turn out to be viable business entities.
Good startup reference. Yeah. Not everything's Apple.
You didn't see the
right?
fight, Hoppy?
No.
Take some shots.
Oh,
Take
They
some
had-
shots. Find some things.
their players went up in the stands.
Went up in the stands.
Oh, yeah, we'll get that. Hey, Taylor, one of these days, get that out there. We'll show it to them.
Probably shouldn't do that.
Third, let's give the coach until the end of the year and evaluate. This is when we need the true fans to rally behind the team and the coach. When Neil Brown says there is no one that wants to win more than those in the building, including the players and coaches, I believe in him. Last, go take care of business this coming week. And again, Thursday in Blacksburg, the rest will take care of itself. P.S. I think we need to talk some more about the boar hunting. It's been way too long.
Is there new information on the boar hunting?
I'm retired, and I remain retired. Unlike Serena, who's now talking about potentially coming back.
Is she?
Yeah, it was yesterday.
Hey, speaking of which, Roger Federer announced his retirement.
I know. He's a big listener to Three Guys, as far as I know. Travis in Lincoln County writes, hey, Three Guys, it never ceases to amaze me how powerful this podcast can be. Hoppy getting national attention. Scopes going into the hall. Seriously, though, I think Mike Tirico said it best last night. When you listen to Tony, it's like hearing an old friend. Thank you, Travis. And that's one I thought I had deleted and not put out there. Okay, very
Well, real
good.
quick,
Moving ahead.
I'm gonna jump in with one more because I knew you'd say don't read it, so I'm reading it. So you can't say don't read it. Ready? Texter to the show. Actually tweeted me and said, please read this on the show because if I send it into the text line, Tony will delete it and won't read it on the show. So I'm going to read it. It's from loyal listener Sean from Raleigh. It says, let's take a break from the grinding and gnashing of teeth to give credit where it is due. Congratulations to Tony on the Hall of Fame call. So well deserved. They say never to follow a legend. An opportunity is an opportunity, though, and Tony dove right in. It wasn't easy at first, and he didn't expect it to be, but here we are today. A lot of water under the bridge and many comings and goings, but Tony has been a constant. Who's got more tenure in that department behind Dan, other than Dan Nealon? Got a Dan Nealon reference there in the text. Right. Shout out Dan Nealon. He didn't hit the portal when it was tough. He remained confident in himself, a lesson many of us can learn from. Anyway, I've always been proud to know him from his earliest days in Morgantown. Congratulations, Tony, with a Y. I don't think this is the last one of these honors. Sean in Raleigh.
Very nice.
Very
well
Sean.
deserved.
Thank you very much. For the record, I did hit the portal.
Yeah, you did.
I transferred to Syracuse. I did 2 years somewhere else, and I gave in the junior and senior year. Unlike Ty Pegram, who's in his 7th year, I just used 4. Thank you very much, Sean. Garrett in Alaska. Bryce Ford Wheaton, over under 1,200 yards receiving, over under 12.5 touchdown catches, sitting at 250, 4 TDs through 2. I think those numbers might get padded this week, Senator.
Well, that'd be a great year, wouldn't it?
yards.
That's a big year.
Oh, man.
And he's on pace, and you would be nuts to take the under on that, how he's looked, other than just those are just massive numbers.
Yeah.
So you'd probably have to play the field and play the under, but, man, he's smoking it. He's been great. 30 targets in 2 games.
You know, that's it. So people asked about what would the Mike Leach air raid look like. One of the things Graham Harrell said that really, while it's not the air raid like it used to be, the philosophy of air raid is to narrow down what you do and do it extremely well. And when you find something, you just keep doing it. That's the answer.
Yeah.
He went like, yeah, this Bryce Ford Wheaton thing, this works pretty good. Let's keep throwing it to him.
Yeah.
Right.
And listen, there's a lot of season left, but we talked many times in the summer and said, is it possible for one of these guys, maybe Bryce Ford, to have a Kevin White type of breakout year? Again, a lot of season left through 2 games. That's exactly what this looks like.
It does, and the advantage there is not only that if he continues and has this big year, that not only does he make big plays, he and JT Daniels make big plays, but also he draws defensive attention,
No
right?
doubt.
And then some other guys can get involved, right?
No question.
Texter, Jennings, from Spencer to Ravenswood to Huntington to the Kanawha Valley. 3 guys to follow up on the counties.
No, Jennings, is he going to do this?
To follow up on the counties, not getting a lot of love, I'll mention Roan. The only good thing it did was produce me. I was born in Spencer.
Oh, it's harsh.
Spencer, I mean, Roan County Black Walnut Festival in Spencer.
Spencer, very popular. Yeah, I like Spencer. Been there many times.
Oh, yeah. Jim Hamrick, I just talked to him this week. Our buddy, Jimmy Hamrick. Football over-under question. Does West Virginia's defense produce 2 turnovers Saturday? I'll go over. They're due.
They are due. Man.
Probably a pretty good bet, Jenny.
They are due. I can still see that fumble laying there at the goal line by Kansas.
Was that just...
I still don't know how that running back fumbles it and gets up so quickly and gets that never happens.
The ball and the way I don't know how you saw it, Tony, from your perspective, but on television, it just like he fumbles it and there's the ball, just like sitting out there, and the guy gets up, running back, and gets on, and then like immediately 3 Mountaineer defenders there. Normally, that's always the defense ball, right? Always,
because normally the ball carrier can't get there because he's got 5 guys on top of him. That one, he just happened to have nobody on him and popped right back up.
Yeah, you're due. I mean, mathematically, you're due for a couple of those, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Texter, Jerry in Bridgeport. Scopes, spreads, and subs. He called you subs. Maybe I'm a sucker, but each time this program hits what would seem like rock bottom, Neil convinces me that we're going to be okay. He says all the right things, at least not to me, not a used car salesman kind of way. He's genuine, passionate, introspective. I refuse to believe that this guy will not fully be successful here at some point. There's no way that he's unable to get to these kids. I think it's just a matter of time, needing to learn how to win. Let's all take a deep breath, see how the rest of the season shakes out, Jerry in Bridgeport.
You know, what do we know? We don't know. I mean, he may not. You don't know because he may not for, myriad reasons. But what I would stick with is, but until he doesn't, then he's doing all the things that would seem to put you in a place to be successful. It seems like he's doing all those things. It just isn't happening yet. Maybe, Brad, it's not going to happen, or maybe it will happen eventually, but the other stuff keeps leading you to believe that it will get better, doesn't it?
And so that's what we said last show, and I think that's the approach you're trying to take here is, are you a better team than you've shown and the record's not indicating it, and you're close and you're about ready to turn the corner, or are you just doomed to have these mistakes and not be able to get over the hump and the whole thing falls apart? I mean, that's what you're looking at. You know my stance. I tend to side with the second. You are really close there to getting some wins. Now, you just, again, hate to keep saying this, you just have to do it now. You have to get around that corner quickly and get those wins. And I think that's, again, why you appropriately coined this the restart. This is big Saturday because you need to win. And then strap it on for Virginia Tech. You talk about a monumentally important game. We might have to clear the decks for some longer time next week. That's a massive game.
I've got time.
And I stick with, and I don't want to be a smartass about this or pejorative, but we have gone from trust the climb to fear the decline, because there's great fear right now, and it feels like, I know that's Mountaineer Nation. There's a fear of the decline, so got to turn that around and get back to trusting the climb.
One thought that hit me this week was when I was in school at Syracuse for my 2 years. A lot of what is being said and the criticism that is being put forth here, very similar to when I was in school about Dick McPherson at Syracuse. So I got there in '83. Mac had gone in his first 2 seasons 4-6, 2-9, 6-5, 6-5. And that was a 6-5 in '83, which was a win over West Virginia at the very end of the season. And then he went 4-6, 2-9, 6-5, 6-5. He goes 7-5 in his 5th year. They go to the Cherry Bowl. Never got paid. Cherry Bowl totally didn't pay him at all.
Good Cherry Bowl reference.
Didn't get paid.
Then in his 6th year. His 6th year, he goes 5-6, right?
Yeah.
Then he goes 11-0-1, 10-2, 8-4, 7-4, and goes to the New England Patriots. So my point to all that is I've seen this before, and they hung on and they waited, and that propelled those guys to the run that Mac had, and then Pasqualoni took it over, and
he did, yeah.
And they did a great run. So just saying. Sometimes it takes a heck of a lot longer than you want to. But anyway, last text. Wes in Charleston. He signs salutation, Boar King, hoppy, 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 and spreads. First off, I'm sending you guys a cleaning bill for my truck after I spit my coffee out all over the dashboard when Spreads was talking about the terrible pass interference call. I laughed because while I was watching the game, I said, how in the blank is that pass interference? The ball landed in the tuba. Second thing, we are on thin ice here with all the fire the coach talk. Everyone needs to take a deep breath and look at Syracuse, for example. Miss on a hire or make a silly mistake, and we will set ourselves back 6 to 8 years. I love the show. So there you go.
I still would like an answer on that call.
Can we see?
I tell you why.
From a ruling standpoint.
I tell you why
Seriously.
I think it's because.
Well, it gets back to what I said. More transparency.
It's because the hold or interference occurred like at the 10-yard line. So that guy was taking that thing out and throwing it then.
Isn't that defensive holding
Yes.
then? They called pass
I
interference.
know,
That's why I'm confused. It wasn't holding.
I agree. I know, but that's what I'm thinking.
Again, the poor person trying to get their prescription at Walgreens across from the sheets got hit. Came in their window in the drive-thru. They're so far over.
A lot of nice people over at that Walgreens. I got my COVID vaccine there. The pharmacist was from Kanawha County. Good dude.
Did you get the new COVID?
I did. I did.
I gotta get one of those. Did it have any effect on you?
More than the last one, but just like I just felt crappy, but I just, me. Just move on.
Push on.
Push on, young man. Let's go. So I just felt like crappy for like a little bit, but it was all right. Now I feel good. I feel good. I feel like I can fly.
What did they give you besides a COVID
I got my
shot?
flu shot too.
At the same time?
Same time. Both just each arm. Let's go.
And then also you got your B12 too, didn't you?
Ah.
So
you got
steroid shots.
I said, you got anything else here? Something for scurvy, berry,
shots on
citrus foods. Give me a little bit of whatever you got in the back room.
Take the needle. Take the needle.
I'm good to go. A reminder, our good friends at Burdett Camping Center celebrating our Burdett Camping Center are celebrating the 400th episode by giving you $50 every touchdown pass that West Virginia throws this week, or $400, whichever is greater. So if they throw more than 8 TDs, you'll get more than 400. If not, the base is 400. That's Burdett Camping. You spend $1,000, they'll give you $400 off this coming week at parts, sales, and service. Burdett Camping, BurdettCamping.com. And by the people that can make you feel safe if you're in the business world, Comax Business Systems, your full-service Konica Minolta dealer. Go to Comax Business Systems at comaxwv.com. They also will manage your IT services, manage your voice and your phone service. Like Hoppy always says, just like make it easier. So just do that. Visit Comax Business Systems at comaxwv.com.
No, don't make it harder.
What did I say? Don't make it easier?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't make it harder.
Just don't make it harder.
That's right. Don't make it harder. All right, we're good. Okay, so next week we're Monday. Oh, yeah, well, doggone. So, hey, remember this. Taylor does have the fight video. We'll try to play that on Monday. Hopefully we'll be in a fun mood, and we'll play the fight video from the Skylar Howard Arena team. That was a pretty good fight.
You were about to say what? Monday, Friday next week.
Monday, Friday next week. We'll do Monday's preview of Virginia Tech. Friday we'll do a recap.
Yep.
And I have to tell you that we're 5 seconds away from the end of the music, which makes us say, see ya. Symbols. Bye-bye.